is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitra Bihamon. That was Minister Seth with some powerful high life medley there. Well, we're going to get into our roundtable discussion like I indicated. Very soon, my guests will be joining me for today's conversation. And like I said, we're talking about customer data protection, a very important topic because, we're in a digital world, really. And so a lot of things are happening in terms of cyber attacks and all of that. It's very important to hold our banks and financial institutions accountable. I think recently we heard of something in line with MTN. Even though it's not a financial institution entirely, it is something that we can learn from. And like I told you a while ago, Santander also had a very serious issue somewhere in May 2024. And Santander is actually one of the world's largest and wealthiest and most technologically advanced banks. And they actually encountered a major global data breach. And so it's very important. We can also learn from that and actually apply certain things in place. So we're asking some very big questions this morning as to whether our banks are doing enough to make sure that our data is protected. And like I said, we actually have to always give our data out when we are doing business with banks, and I mean, this is not to actually go hard on banks or anything, but every time you walk into a bank branch or you try to open a mobile banking app, or you want to create an account or something, they collect your data, your name, your home address, your phone number, your Ghana card details, your biometric information, your transaction patterns, your loan history, and even your location. These are all things that are very valuable information. So I was saying that today banks even know you more than anybody. Sometimes even your family members don't know you that much, but banks actually do. And so that's why we have to hold them accountable. We have to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So those are the things we'll be talking about this morning. My guests will be joining me very soon for that. Okay, they are on now. I understand that they are on. So then we'll get into our conversation this morning. So this morning, I've been joined by two individuals who are going to help us have this conversation on customer data protection. I have joining me Alex Ansa. He's a security analyst, and also Mr. Samuel Okechi. He's also an IT consultant. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Good morning, Nii. Thanks for hosting us.
All right, great. I want to believe
good
that.
morning, sir.
Okay. Right, I want to believe that Samuel Okechi, Mr. Samuel Okechi, you answered first, right?
Yes,
yes. I think I remember your voice from the other time. Alex, you're welcome. This is the first time we are speaking. Hello, Alex.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is our first time.
Yes, this is our first time. I hope you're well.
Doing very well. What of you?
Yeah, same here by God's grace. And Mr. Okechi, I hope you're also doing well.
I'm doing well, Alex, and greetings to your listeners.
All right, great. Okay, so let's get into our conversation this morning, and I'll start with you, Alex. I mean, when you look at Ghana's banking sector today, what do you think are the biggest threats that you see, and are we underestimating them? Hello, Alex?
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so I'm asking that when you look at the banking sector today here in Ghana, what are the biggest threats that you see? And are we underestimating them?
Thank you for the opportunity, and I want to also bring greetings to your listeners. So talking about threats the banking sector faces, I would say that it will boil down to the topic for discussion this morning, which has to do with data. And I think the banks, even though there's an act that regulates it, I don't think it is something that is happening. So in my view, I would say that it's been underestimated when it comes to data protection. Thank you.
Okay, but also in simple terms, maybe we can actually focus on that for a few minutes. What do you think that business leaders misunderstand the most about cybersecurity today? Hello, Alex?
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so I'm asking that what do you think business leaders misunderstand the most about cybersecurity today?
All right. So, in my understanding, I think business leaders, in as much as they are supposed to lead, have little or no understanding about cybersecurity. The reason why I'm saying this is because you see, in every organization, there are hierarchies, and we have people occupying higher positions than others. But when it comes to the real work on the ground, um, we have the low officers, permit me to say, they are the ones that actually execute the attacks on the ground. So business leaders would sometimes or can sometimes not necessarily understand the role they are to play. But then, I mean, there's a role and then it has to be occupied. So someone who has little or no understanding in cybersecurity is appointed into a position, and I mean, it affects how data is protected.
Mm. And do you think they see it as an IT issue and not a business issue?
Yeah, they see it as an IT issue.
Mm. So many of them do not
Yeah,
pay much attention.
yeah, they don't pay much attention to it.
All right,
They
we're
don't
gonna
pay
we're
much
gonna get
attention to
we're
it.
gonna get into the data conversation very well. I just want us to start quite broadly, and then make sense and try to trickle down. So let me come to you, Samuel. Now, Samuel, so do you also share in what Alex was saying?
Yes, Nee, I do share Alex's views and points, not always. Basically, like you mentioned, business leaders typically don't see cybersecurity as a business risk. Most of them see it like it's an IT problem. So it's an IT guy's problem to make sure that we are protected. However, cybersecurity issues affect revenue of an organization, it affects operations, it affects every aspect. So it's important that business leaders do see cybersecurity as a very important business risk that they must focus on and give attention. To add to the point, in the past, we used to have when you look at the C-level team members we had a CEO, CIO. Now, CSO is becoming a very important component. So that means that it should be at the top of every organization, and business leaders need to take it. Very important. Thank you, Nick.
And what is the effect of not actually paying attention?
Nick, so significantly, it has major implications in an organization. It can even kill an organization. We've seen companies being hacked. Once a company organization is hacked, number one, it affects your reputation, your brand reputation. Once it's out there that a particular bank has been breached, a lot of customers shy away or move from that bank. It affects your revenue. It's expensive. As you're about to go into the data protection act, you realize that there are fines and charges that affect organizations if they don't take it very important, and also affect the operations and basically funds as well.
Right. Okay, so let me come back to you, Alex. So it's obvious that cybersecurity is a very important thing in our world today, and we need to pay attention to that. And like someone mentioned, CSOs are now becoming a major part of. And I've actually seen a report that was released quite recently. I think in the month of August or so, on cybersecurity, and it has become like a requirement. CSOs have become a requirement. Are we beginning to see banks actually employ people like that? Alex, you are a security analyst.
Yep, good. So thank you so much. So I happen to work in a bank myself, and
okay.
I wouldn't want to disclose that for now. Maybe
Yeah,
in
that's
a
fine. That's fine. I
subsequent
understand.
discussions, I would lay it to
I
bear.
understand.
So where I work currently, I think we are paying attention to it because we have a CSO that actually ensures that our security infrastructure is protected and is well aligned with the Data Protections Act. Yeah, and and I also think that when it comes to the protection of data, the big banks, mentioning GCB, mentioning ADB, I think they would, because it's expensive, like someone rightly said, they would have budgets for it, and but the small banks wouldn't want to delve more into it because, like we are discussing, they don't see it as a business enabler. IT should do their stuff and protect us with little or no funds. Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right. So now let's get into data protection properly. Now, when we talk about data protection, what are we talking about, Alex?
Yep. So before I try to answer that, I would want to bring something to bear. I believe your listeners are listening, and we've been talking about data. And someone would ask, when we talk about data, what are we even talking about? So I'll just take a few minutes to try and attempt to answer that. So when we talk about data, we are simply talking about any personal information you give to the bank. It could be your name, your phone number, your Ghana card, your bank balance, your salary, how you are spending your salary, where you are located, and even the kind of phone you are using. And when we talk about data protection, we are talking about we keeping or banks keeping the information they took from you actually safe and private, and only using it for the purpose for which it was collected. Why this is important is because if your data gets into the wrong hands, we all know fraud can happen. We have issues of identity theft, mobile money fraud, which has become very rampant now, and then scams. Yep.
Right. Are there some particular data that you think are more sensitive than others, or every data is very important?
Well, every data is important, but when it comes to financial institutions, identity theft has a major role to play. So when it comes to financial institution, I would say that identity theft should be actually looked at properly because if it's not taken care of, it can actually cause so much havoc. Yes.
I see. Okay. Samuel, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yes, just to add to what Alex said, basically data is important. Data is like the gold mine of these days it's in the AI era or in the information era. So whatever information that you give out there to the banks, be it your transaction history, bank statement, everything you're doing, it's very important that the banks protect this critically. And it's very important that this is protected securely.
But how vulnerable are we today in Ghana in terms of data protection?
So when you mention vulnerability, I would like to just break it down a bit so it's easier for listeners to understand. So most people give out data without necessarily knowing their rights. So I would say in terms of vulnerability, I'll classify it more like lack of awareness. So people give out information freely to the banks without knowing the rights and responsibilities. And that leads a lot of basically people don't knowing what it's being used for. I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. Somebody goes to Bank A to pick a loan and submits a form details and personal details. Most of us, we are not even aware that once your data is given to the bank and you pick a loan, the bank has a mandate and a right to share this data with credit bureaus. And that makes your data available everywhere. Not everywhere, but securely safe with the credit bureaus for other banks to make reference to. So your transactions and history in Bank A, they are mandated to share this data with the credit bureau that is available to other banks if needed. So most of us give out data without knowing what we are giving out.
So we have to be cautious of that.
I'm sorry, I missed.
I'm saying we have to be conscious of that.
Yes, certainly. We need to be conscious of what we give out, what is being used for. And it's about time that we pay attention to all the very details. I'll give you another example. We keep on moving money from Momo to bank to Momo. Now, the fact that we are moving this money from one point to another, it is the amount that is being moved from our wallet to the bank or bank to the wallet. What information is being shared and what is done with that information that is kept? Who is facilitating the transaction between us and the bank? Is it going through third-party APIs? What information do they keep? What don't they keep? So a lot of people are not really aware of how much data they're giving out and how it's being handled. BOG, for example, mandates banks and some financial institutions to keep the data of every transaction you've done, including who sends this, the details, the transaction amount, for a period of years. So you may have done a transaction today thinking, well, it's done, but this data is somewhere and it's saved somewhere for at least 6 years, as mandated by Bank of Ghana. And it's also important that whoever is saving this data has the Ghana data protection, basically takes into consideration the data protection laws of Ghana, and it's secured properly, it's saved in a way that makes it secure.
Right. But okay, just because you throw in data protection laws, what exactly does the law say? I mean, when it comes to data protection.
So, thank you, Neil. So basically, the data protection laws gives the framework that governs how data is collected, stored, and accessed. So, just to take us back, so a few years back, 2012, the Act was published to protect how data is collected and then stored and analyzed. Let me give a classical example that is not related to banking or any other space. Many of us work into organizations today, and when you get to the reception, the first question you are asked is fill a form, write your name, date, who you are coming to see, your telephone number. That is data that is being collected that can be attributed to you as an individual. How is that data handled once you're not there? So the data protection laws was basically published back then to govern how data is collected and handled about individuals in Ghana. And it's very important that we as Ghanaians also familiarize ourselves, understand basically what it's talking about, and know when our rights are being breached, and then know our responsibilities as well.
Right. So everybody needs to get familiar with, to familiarize themselves with the data protection laws here in Ghana. Right. Okay. Let me come to you now, Alex. Now, Alex, you are a security analyst. I want to know from where you sit, are Ghanaian banks genuinely guarding our personal information, or are we safer than we think? Hello, Alex.
Okay, so thank you so much. So I think when you talk about data protection and then banks guarding our data, I would want to explain it in three folds. So we talk about the people, we talk about the process, and then we talk about technology. Now, all these three elements would have to come to place before data is actually protected. So, for instance, excuse me.
Sure. Feel free.
Just a second.
All right. I tried to post something out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I was saying that technology, people, and then processes.
Yeah.
Now, banks rely heavily on computers, servers, mobile apps, and then networks. Many of these systems are outdated. They are not patched regularly, or they are connected to third-party vendors. Practical example is some tellers still using old version of Windows. Now, we also know that hackers online already know the weaknesses of these old systems. So breaking in becomes very easy, like entering a house with weak old log. They just break in and then they do whatever they want to do with it. If a hacker, mobile banking risk, if a hacker gains access to your SIM card through a SIM swap fraud, they can just reset your password and then access your money. This is a classical example of tech vulnerability outside the fund. That's still, it's affecting us today. So 3 things would have to come to place. If the bank is serious in protecting customers' data, then we have to upgrade our technology. We have to make sure that the people are conscientized, awareness is brought to them. So there was an instance, I don't know if you heard of it, that this pastor in Ghana, I think he saves with a bank, and the tellers, when they were counting the money for him, they actually took a video of it and then it started circulating on the social media.
No, I didn't hear of it.
You didn't hear of that?
No, I
Okay.
didn't.
Well, maybe because I'm in the space, that is why I
Yeah,
heard
that's
of it.
why.
So
Yes.
we had to do what we call damage control. We went to the person, apologized to the person that it wasn't going to happen again, and then everything was okay. So I think banks do think that, or we've assumed a posture that we actually protected the data that we take from people, but we don't take into consideration human factors. Because we know that in every organization or in every system or in every structure, the weakest link is humans. So I think awareness has not taken place enough, and there is a lot to do when it comes to data protection in banks. Thank you.
Awareness on whose part?
Awareness from the regulator, first of all, BOG, and the bank as a whole on its stuff.
Okay, so are you saying that the regulator is not doing much in terms of awareness? Is that what you're saying plainly?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. But is the regulator supposed to be creating awareness?
No, the regulator is not supposed to be creating awareness. But the reason I'm saying that is because there should be stricter penalties that goes to people who flout these rules or acts that has been enacted. So doing, I mean, it is creating awareness indirectly.
Okay.
So stricter rules, stricter punishment should be meted out to any bank who goes against the act. Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that banks are going against the act? From what you see.
So like the example I shared, that a customer had an account with the bank, and the bank went to do a cash count for the customer, and then the data of the customer came out. So I think in this case, the regulator could have come in and then said that because of A, B, and C, this and that is going to be meted out to you. And then there was also a classical example where the former the former first lady of the land had also had an account with a bank, and then the data of the former lady was also brought out. And I mean, everybody got to know how much she had and all of that. So I think the regulator seeing this can actually impose a fine by so doing. I mean, it is money we are working with, and then nobody would want to just throw money away. So when the fines come in, the banks can now set up and then caution its staff not to, flout the rules.
Right. Recently, we saw a member of parliament data published in a newspaper. I mean, for defaulting to pay. Does that count as what we're talking about? Does that fall in under what we're talking about this morning?
Exactly. False adherence.
So was that a breach?
That is a breach. When I take your data, the act tells me what I should do with the data. Okay. And I should know the reason why I'm taking the data. And part of taking the data is actually protecting the data. So now, if I should take your data, and then tomorrow you wake up and then your data is out there, it's definitely a breach. And you can actually sue me for it.
I see.
Heidi, if I can add a point
on
the
go ahead.
the last question you raised, what Alex just explained also. So yes, it might be a breach. However, once you go to the bank to when you transact with the bank and you pick a loan, there are terms and conditions attached to it that gives the bank certain rights and responsibilities, and also you rights and responsibilities. So, for example, should you breach or default in paying off a bank, the bank has clear roles and responsibilities and acts it can take in the process of retrieving their loan from you. And sometimes that can include publications in the newspapers.
Okay.
Many of us do not read the fine details when we access facilities or work with certain financial institutions. But it's important to note that by taking facilities from them, you give them the right and responsibility, and they have a process. They will not just be able to wake up one day and publish, but they should have tried to go. They need to go through the process. One of the process includes trying to reach the person, sending warning letters, and then the final step might be the publication of as we saw. So in that instance, for example, we might not have the full picture of what processes the bank went through before the publication was done.
Okay, so the publication is, in some cases it's allowed.
In some cases, it's allowed, and it might be in accordance with the Data Protection Act if they have followed the process required before.
Oh, I see. All right. I'm going to come back to you, Samuel. But Alex, so how would you rate the current cyber threat landscape facing Ghana's banking sector? Hello, Alex.
Hey, out of a 10, I'll give it a 5.
Why would you give it a 5?
We are doing well, but then there's more to do.
Are there certain things that you are seeing that is making you give us 5?
So like I said, the technology, we are not yet there. The people we pay them little salaries, and so anybody comes in requesting for data, they can be compromised. And our processes too are not that strong enough.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now let me come back to you, Samuel. Samuel, from an IT infrastructure perspective, how modern or outdated are the systems most banks rely on?
A very good question. In my experience with working with a lot of banks or a lot of IT organizations, you'll be quite amazed how some are far back behind. Basically, some are running systems that are very outdated and have issues managing the life cycle of the IT infrastructure they have. When I talk about life cycle, for example, vulnerabilities are detected, and it's important that systems are patched. Because the systems are many and old, it will take time in patching them and being able to become up to date. So you have a lot of organizations basically running legacy systems. This is a very common thing in the organization, in a lot of organizations in Ghana. So their systems are very outdated. Some even have end-of-life systems in their data centers. That meaning that end-of-life means that they don't have support, they don't have warranty, they don't have updates. So they will not be able to patch the infrastructure when needed. But not to just talk about the negative sides, there are also banks in Ghana that are doing very well in keeping up to date with the systems. Just that in every organization, there are quite a number of systems, and there's always that one system that is difficult to upgrade or expensive to, so it takes time before it's moved on. But banks are doing quite well generally, but there's a number of banks that are way behind.
I see. So, but how big of a risk are insider threats, and why are they often underestimated?
Thank you, So, insider threats are a major concern to data breaches or to banks, organizations in the world. You realize that 90% of breaches happen mostly as a result of the people factor and not because of the machine. So insider threats are a major thing. It's important that banks don't just invest in systems. They don't just invest in software and applications, but they also train the team, like Alex mentioned, on how to operate these systems. So you find banks investing in equipment, but not investing in the people. And that increases the threat of the insider threat insider threat aspect. You find banks investing in systems but not taking time to quarterly train their staff on how to avoid phishing emails. We might be downplaying the insider threat as somebody who is angry and leaking out information. No, it might also be an untrained staff who mistakenly clicks on an email that steals his or her passwords, and that exposes the entire bank to data breach. So insider threats are quite basically very, very, very important. Once the bank invests in technology, it's good that you bring up the people also periodically and have a good framework around how the people are trained, how they're informed to minimize insider threats.
Okay. All right. Alex, we hear of malware and ransomware. How common are these in our Ghanaian setting? Hello, Alex. Hello, Alex.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm saying that yeah, go ahead.
The question again, please.
So I'm asking that ransomware and malware are some of the things that, I mean, two of the attacks that we hear of. How common are they here in Ghana?
Okay, thank you so much. I would attempt to explain what they mean before I talk about how common they are.
Okay, sure.
For our listeners listening. So when we talk about malware, we are actually talking about two words coming together. Talking about malicious software, a harmful program created to damage a computer system that is intended to steal information or gain unauthorized access. Let's think of it like this. It's like a thief who enters your house not through the door, because obviously maybe when you're going to sleep you locked it, but through a tiny window that you forgot to lock. So it's just like okay, so basically that. And then a ransomware would also be a type of malware that locks your files and demands payments before releasing them. Let's imagine someone locking your office filing cabinet and telling you to pay something before.
Hello, Alex. Okay, I think the network is not helping. Alex, can you hear me?
Hello, Zed, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello, can you
lost
hear
you
me?
for a few seconds.
Sorry, I received a call. Sorry.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're talking about the ransomware.
I was just trying to explain the ransomware.
Yeah.
I was saying that it's also a type of malware that actually locks files and then demands payment before releasing them.
Okay.
For a bank, a ransomware can completely shut our customer service, our mobile banking, email system, CCTV, and then stock monitoring. I don't know, maybe someone would want to throw much details into. I've not really delved into it, but then he being an IT consultant, I'm sure where the past government, I think our data was with a particular country, our hospital data and all of that. I don't know if he has in-depth knowledge on that. And so basically, when we talk about malware and then ransomware, it is something that has the potential to actually cripple whatever we do in our banking space. That should actually be taken care of very seriously.
Okay. All right. But I want to ask both of you, do you think that cyber criminals are evolving faster than the banking sector's defense mechanisms? And I'll start with you, Alex.
Exactly. They are. So we have what we call penetration testers. So anytime that an app is developed, they try to penetrate into the app and then see the defenses that the software has and all of that. But then we are also dealing with people who are much smarter. So to drift a bit, the reason why we've still not been able to come out with an HIV antidote is because the virus mutates. So today you think you have an antidote, you go and then maybe you saw the virus as a cat. Tomorrow you go and then you are seeing the virus as a dog now. So that is the same thing that we are talking about here. When we actually banks, when we actually think that we have our defenses all secured and all of that, we have people we have these cyber criminals who are also very on top of their games. Very, very on top of their games that actually sometimes beat us. So it is when they do, and now we see what they've done, then we try to find solutions to it. Before we find the solution, we've launched another attack.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that? Do you also agree?
Yes, me. 100% agree with Alex. Cyber criminals are technically evolving much, much faster than banks are upgrading their technology. And it's not something that we should be afraid of. It's the norm. There's something called the zero-day attacks. So, for example, attacks that happen that is unknown to anybody, but it takes time before the IT organizations develop patches for, and then we can work around it. So basically, criminals are moving fast. I'll give you an example. Last week, we spoke about AI and how it's helping us make our work better.
Yeah.
Cyber criminals are sort of taking advantage of AI, helping them to move faster and help them to basically launch attacks much faster rates. I'll give you an example. To shift away from AI and back to the banking sector. Banks operate like every organization. We have to put in a budget. We have to basically go through procurement process. We have to buy equipment to protect themselves and even train staff. This takes time. Whilst the bank is taking time to go through these processes, the cyber criminals are busy pushing up attacks as much as they can. So it's a catch-22 situation. While the banks are trying to advance, cyber criminals are moving much faster. And then the final point to note is that as we move into the much more digitized space, like you mentioned at the beginning, the attack surface, or we call the attack vector increases. So now we have so many people using their mobile phones to interact with the banks. I walked into a bank a couple of weeks back and I was like, oh man, I missed going to the ATM to withdraw cash or even seeing the tellers. Meeting the teller is something I personally haven't done in a long time. So that means that we've taken the security we have in the bank space, in the box there, out of that space where there's a policeman sitting there making sure we don't steal the money. Now, we've taken that out of that banking space onto our mobile phones. Now, do we have that policeman sitting on our mobile phone to help us transact and observe what we are doing? No, we don't, technically. So it's good that basically cyber criminals are moving faster. The systems are trying to develop ways of protecting data, and attack vector keeps on increasing. So it's more like they're always trying to catch up with them. Thank you.
I see. All right. So exactly 29 minutes after 9, this is the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nee Trebi Hammond. And this morning we're talking about customer data protection and whether our banks are doing enough. I've been joined by two individuals, Alex Ansa and also Mr. Samuel Ketri. These are the two individuals I'm talking with this morning, and they are sharing their thoughts with us. You can join the conversation on our social media platforms. On Instagram, we are at on Facebook, we're streaming live at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. You can drop a comment on any of our posts, and we'll read them for you. You can also text us on WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. All right, so let's get back to. We're talking about data protection earlier, and Alex, I'm coming back to you. So I want you to be very plain. Are banks fully complying with our Data Protection Act, or is there more box ticking than actual implementation? Hello, Samuel.
Hi, was that me? Sorry, I thought it was
Samuel.
Alex.
Yeah.
So, technically, banks are doing their best. They're doing something to comply, basically to meet the data protection requirement. However, I don't think they're doing enough. There's a lot more that can be done. You'll be surprised to go into a number of banks where the protection, basically, all they do is try to meet the regulatory requirements from the Data Protection Act from Bank of Ghana, but it needs to go beyond that and to be about the customer, not just a check in the box like you mentioned for them to meet BOG requirements. but taking the initiative of carrying even the customers along in the data protection effort, educating the customers. These days, I don't know if you've noticed text coming from some banks, some institutions trying to update the public about do not share your pins, do not share them. So I feel, and all the banks need to carry the people along, not just about the assistance or checkbox to meet UG requirements. So technically, they're doing something, but it's never enough. It's not enough.
I see. Alex, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I was a bit interrupted.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So how well do banks understand their obligations under the Act, especially regarding consent and data minimization? Hello, Alex? Hello? All right. I think we lost Alex there. We'll try and see if we can reconnect him.
My network is really misbehaving now. But then, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So banks generally understand the Data Protection Act, but I should say on paper. But the depth of understanding varies widely when it comes to the day-to-day practice. The Act requires that banks do basically 8 things. They collect the data lawfully, they use it for a specific purpose, they keep it accurate, they store it safely, they allow customers to access or correct their information, not to keep it longer than necessary, be transparent about how they use it, and stay accountable for any breach. Most banks have privacy policies and compliance units. My bank does, but the challenge is implementation. For example, staff may know they shouldn't print customers' details and leave them lying around, yet it still happens. Some branches still keep physical forms with signatures stored in open shelves. Others collect more information than they actually need, like photocopying an entire ID card when only the ID number is required. These small lapses sometimes show that understanding is only theoretical and not practical. Another issue is that many staff think data protection is purely an IT program. Meanwhile, the Act says every employee is responsible for safeguarding customer data, from the teller to the call center to the security guards. If a staff member shares a photo of a customer's account statement on WhatsApp, that is a breach. If a staff leaves a password on a sticky note at a workstation, that is definitely also a breach. Some banks are improving. They are conducting regular staff training, limiting access to sensitive systems, and they are also enforcing the need to know access. But others still treat compliance as a checkbox rather than a culture. The Data Protection Commission expects more than documentation. They expect evidence that processes are working each day. Yeah, so basically.
I see. You mentioned something that sometimes they photocopy the entire Ghana card instead of just the numbers. Do we need just the numbers? Is that what it is?
So every bank has the NIA verification platform. So once I have your Ghana card number, I should be able to verify the person standing in front of me. So I don't need to photocopy your ID card. What am I using it for? So your number, I input it in the NIA verification platform. I'm able to verify your identity, and then that is.
So are you saying that at no point must the bank take a photocopy of your ID card? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And then I think recently in the news it came that customers shouldn't allow banks to take photocopies of their IDs. Yeah.
I see. How about this? I'm just chipping it in because we're talking about this. How about registering your SIM card? Sometimes they take they try to take a picture of your ID and all of that. Is that also allowed?
That's what I'm saying, that if we are taking the data, just like I mentioned, the 8 things that the Protection Act says, why are we taking a photocopy of the ID card? Of what use will it be? do I only need the number to verify the person, or I need to photocopy and then keep? Because once I have the number, it's just like I have the card in front of me, because I would see every data I need to see on you.
Okay.
So when it comes to SIM registrations, I think the number should also be enough. The Ghana card number should also be enough. Yeah.
I see. Somewhat, would you want to weigh in?
Yes, Need, certainly. So to add to what Alex said, most of the time when we go to these organizations, we are asked to surrender copies of our Ghana card. Now the question is, what are they using it for? What's the objective? If it's to verify my identity, NIA has given us clear, basically all the institutions, clear guidelines on how to verify. Now, when copies of these things are taken, this amounts to basically taking too much information than needed. And that's a breach of the Data Protection Act, taking what data you don't need. And it's something that happens often. So basically, your Ghana card doesn't just have your name and details, but it has other details about you. So when an organization makes a photocopy, they take a lot of information. The idea for you present your Ghana card is for verification, and there's a process. All they need is a number in there, they key into the system, and your details are saved on their platform. Once they have photocopies, how then do they ensure that these copies are kept safe and it's not misused by other people? So basically, you need to follow the process.
Then we are not safe at all. Because I see a lot of people, I mean, at least I see a lot of banks actually photocopy and keep copies. Sometimes we the customers ourselves, we also share pictures. For instance, we are registering an account, or we are creating an account. We send a picture of our Ghana card to them. It means that we are not safe at all, isn't it?
To answer that, yes, technically we are not safe. But with the cybersecurity, it's more like not a one-stop security anything. It's a process. It's a continuous process. So as and when things come up, you develop and then you clean your data out. So for example, you might find your data out somewhere you don't like. You have to clean it. It's a continuous process that you and I need to work on every day, because the hackers keep improving. We keep improving things. So technically, we are never safe. It's just that we put in safeguards measures to protect ourselves.
And need to add up to what Samuel is saying. I also think that there's not been much awareness when it comes to our customers.
Yeah.
Because the customer doesn't know that the bank doesn't have any right to request for their Ghana card when they come to the banking halls. And so if our customers are actually conscientized that this is your right, and you have every right to say no when requested by bank tellers, I think it will go a long way to help all of us. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Back to you, Samuel. So what are some of the common compliance mistakes, apart from what we talked about, that banks make when they are collecting customer data?
So, for example, one of them is the point I mentioned is the over collection of data, collecting more information than needed. So banks step up this, and they don't typically limit it. They collect more than what they need. Another aspect is clearly explaining to customers what the data that is being collected is being used for. How much of that data is shared with third parties, what is shared with third parties, what stays with the bank. These are some of the areas organizations reach the act without knowing.
I see. Okay, so do you think that the regulator should impose some stricter penalties for banks that fail to protect our customer information?
Yes, I think it's very important that the regulator acts strict penalties. Let me ask a very funny, interesting question. Have you ever heard of BOG or the Data Protection Organization fining people? It's very rare. However, there are breaches happening, there are fines happening. To protect the organization's reputation, these are not made public. But I think to some extent, some need to be public to help other organizations sit up and pay much more attention to data security than what we are doing today. If I can afford the fine and go scot-free, I will not really empower my team, train my team, follow the asset mandated by me. But once I know it has reputational damage, basically it will affect my credibility and reputation out there, I will take it more serious. So the fines need to be enforced, and it has to be made public as well. BOD fines people all the time, but fines organizations all the time, but it's hardly made public.
So you think that we should be making it public?
Yes, public, and then the fines much bigger to force organizations to comply.
I see. Okay. All right. Let's probably touch on the human factor. Then we can maybe wrap up with the awareness bit of it. How much of the risk banks face is tied to poor staff training or limited to cybersecurity expertise? And I'll throw that to you, Alex. Hello, Alex. Hello.
Hi, me.
Yeah, Alex. Can you hear me?
Are we? Yeah, I can hear. Are we talking about the insider threat?
No, I'm talking about the risks that banks face. How much of it is tied to poor staff training?
Oh, okay.
Or limited cybersecurity expertise?
Okay.
Hello.
All right. So,
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now, poor staff training is one of the biggest weaknesses in data protection across many banks, just like we are saying. Even though you don't really hear people talking about, you can buy the most expensive cybersecurity systems in the world, but if
Hello.
I'm using my phone to join in, so people keep calling me. Okay, sorry for that. So I was saying that we can actually get the most expensive cybersecurity systems in the world, but if the people operating them don't understand data protection, the bank is still exposed. The first issue is that many staff do not actually fully understand what counts as personal data. Some only think of account numbers and balances, but under the Data Protection Act, even a customer's phone number, ID number, address, or biometrics are protected. So when
Hello, Alex.
So apologies. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, apologies. I'm at work currently. That is why people keep.
Don't worry, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was talking about the first issue that had to do with the fact that many staff don't fully understand what counts as personal data. The second one I'll talk about is frontline staff are often the weakest link. They handle forms, they handle IDs, the KYCs, the documents, the statements, and then the signatures daily. Yet some have never received structured training on privacy. A teller might leave a customer's form on a desk. A call center agent might write down OTPs. A loan officer might store customers' files at home, all because no one has actually taught them the right process. Thirdly, poor training leaves staff vulnerable to social engineering. If a staff member can't recognize a phishing email or fake call pretending to be the bank's IT support, they can easily expose login credentials or open the door for malware. Most successful cyber attacks begin with a human mistake and sometimes not a system failure. And another thing that we actually do not pay attention to is our temporary staff and then contract staff. Let's say the security guards, the cleaners, the outsourced tellers, the interns, the national service persons. They access sensitive information, but usually receive zero training. They become an unintentional insider threat simply because no one has actually educated them. So I think data protection is often treated as one-time orientation topic that you come, you treat it, and then that is all. But it should actually be continuous because, I mean, laws change, threats evolve, and staff rules also shift. So banks that do not run refresher training, awareness tests, and scenario-based simulations are essentially dependent on luck. They pray that nothing happens. So, in simple terms, if staff are not well trained, the bank is not secure because cybersecurity is 30% technology and 70% of human behavior.
I see. 30% technology and 70% human behavior. Now, you talked about frontline staff. What are the typical mistakes they make that expose customer data?
So I was saying that they actually handle your form. So a frontline staff, when you enter into the bank, can be the CSO, the customer service officer, or the customer service representative.
Yeah.
Some of these people, they have. So when you go and you want to open an account, the data that is collected actually comes to them firstly. So they can leave the forms on a desk. And I mean, when that happens, anybody walking in can just pick the forms, and or maybe, let's say I'm a frontliner, and then we have what we call priority customers. So a priority customer comes. Let's say I want to mention. Let's say our current president walks into the bank and then wants to do something, and then our current president will be a priority customer because of the position he finds himself. So he comes in, he gives his data out, and then because I want to show off on social media that, oh, I mean, this person was with me today, and then I was able to, I mean, ask questions and all of that. So the person can sometimes just take a snapshot of the data and then just post on social media to prove that he or she is also there.
Right.
I mean, these are the mistakes that sometimes they make. Yeah.
Okay. So very important that we pay attention to that. So how can banks build a stronger security first culture among employees? And I'll throw that to you, Samuel.
Honey, thank you.
Yes.
So it's quite important. That's I think we've been agreeing a lot, me and Alex. Important that the banks take important the human factor.
Yeah.
So number one is the staff needs to be trained. We don't just have to invest in technology to protect the systems, but we need to train and carry the people who operate them along. So from the front staff to the data center infrastructure team, we need to have strong training programs that bring these team members up to speed with current trends in terms of cybersecurity, data protection, and the law, and then help them. They might be doing things that they are not aware they are breaking the law on. We need to bring them up to speed and educate them. Force education down, let it be repetitive and periodic. And these are some of the things the banks can do to carry everybody along.
Right. Okay. I think we have just about 5 minutes to go. Let's talk about customer education and public awareness. Now, we've talked about the human factor in terms of the employees in the banks. Let's talk about the customers now. But first of all, are customers themselves aware of how to protect their personal banking information? Samuel.
A lot of us are doing bits and pieces, but we are not fully aware. Today, for example, let me break it down into some components. We have the OTP. A lot of customers don't really understand how OTP works. That is meant for you only. So you find us giving this information out to hackers, and they take advantage of this and basically take over our monies, our mobile, our systems, our WhatsApp platforms. So it's important that we educate customers, not just on the OTP, but how to even detect basic fraud. Once you see a line of calls coming in and you know that this might be a fraud, protect your passwords. People don't typically invest in technology for them to know how much information about them is out there. There are a number of breaches that happen globally, Ghana, around the world, on systems that we use. that exposes our passwords. People don't go out there to check, is my data in the dark web? So we need to do that as well. There's also the aspect of what we call password hygiene. You find people using the same passwords across multiple platforms. It's important that we have good password hygiene, that we manage our passwords well, and we change them periodically. So there's quite a number of things we can do. Finally, I'll just say banks must enforce, train customers, and carry them along as well. Thank you.
All right. Do you have anything to add to that, Alex?
I think someone has mentioned it all, but then I would also want to just add to it that many customers actually do not still understand basic digital safety. So they freely share pins, OTPs, passwords, and mobile app code, sometimes with family members, mobile money agents. So you have people going to the mobile money vendor and say that, hey, me bana send me sika, and no, please, you give the phone, they give the password, they give the pins to the Momo vendor to do the transaction on their behalf. These are basic digital safety that they should actually be trained on. And when it comes to, so sometimes because I'm in the bank, there are times that we have issues. We've had issues with the security guards, and sometimes they come and then they are like, I'm not able to operate the ATM machine, so please help me. And then you know that when you insert your card, you'll be required to enter a password. And the security guard helping you actually compromises your security. I mean, who knows? The security guard can meet you anywhere, take the how do you call it? The card, and then perpetrate fraud with it.
Right.
And then you realize that some of the MasterCards have why am I forgetting this? They have 3 pin digits at the back. So once I get your card number and then I get the 3 pin digits at the back, when it comes to ATM cards withdrawals and that, I'll be able to wipe out your money in a second.
I see.
So yeah, I think these are things that we should also train our customers and then also conscientize them on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe finally, 30 seconds each. So what should the regulator prioritize to create a more secure financial system ecosystem for us? Maybe finally. So Alex, and then I come to you some more wrap up.
Yeah. So someone take it.
Okay. Then let me end with some more. Yeah. What should the regulator prioritize to make sure that we're able to create a more secure financial ecosystem?
Funny. So, I mean, the role of a regulator is to basically ensure compliance. So, I will first of all make sure or push the regulator to ensure that compliance is enforced consistently and in the right way that it needs to be. And also, in addition to that, to the banks, it's very important that the banks don't see security just like as a cybersecurity investment I'm making, or not as a cost center, but basically as a business risk, something that is very important to the organization to ensure that business survives. And then, still around the regulator, the final point is that the customers also must be educated to play an active role. Once all these three, basically the regulator, the bank, or the organizations, and then the customers are aligned and are working effectively, then we'll have a better and secure data protection environment. It's all about trust, basically. Making sure that my data is safe, it's handled properly, and I believe in the systems I'm working with. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Alex, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to come in now.
Oh, okay. All right. 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds is...
Don't worry. Just go ahead. 30 seconds.
Okay. All right. So just like Samuel Riley said, the regulator, in this case, we are talking about the Data Protection Commission and then the Bank of Ghana. They have critical roles to play in protecting customer data and ensuring that banks actually comply with the law. And first of all, I would say enforcement has to come to play. Having laws on paper is not just enough. Regulators must actively monitor banks, they should conduct audits, and then they should also ensure that breaches are reported promptly. Secondly, there should also be some sort of guidance and then standard settings. Regulators should provide clear practical guidelines for banks on how to implement the Data Protection Act. And then thirdly, I would also talk about the staff training and then the capacity building. Regulators must ensure that bank employees are trained, not just IT teams, but frontline staff who handle data daily. Fourthly will be the public awareness campaign, and then fifthly will be the tightening penalties for non-compliance.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex, and thanks so much, Samuel, as well. Really grateful that you guys shared your thoughts with us this morning.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. All right. So, yes, you just heard there Alex Ansa, who is a security analyst, and also Samuel Ketri. He's an IT consultant. And these two gentlemen joined me this morning for a roundtable discussion talking about customer data protection and whether the banks are doing enough. And it's obvious from this conversation that in as much as it looks like we're doing quite well, there's still some more work to be done in terms of educating our staff, educating the public, as well as on the regulator side, what the regulator needs to do to strengthen, or to make our financial ecosystem a bit more secured. So I hope you got some value from that conversation. Now you know that taking a picture of your Ghana card and sharing is not ideal, and so in most situations maybe you may want to reconsider the decision to share those pictures of that, or even photocopies of that. You may want to share just the contact. Yes, I know there are other situations where you may be required to actually share a picture, but in most cases you don't have to do that. So please be very careful, and also protect your pins and some of these information that you have about yourself, so that you don't become vulnerable to cyber attacks. So that is how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Z. I think it's been a fantastic conversation. We will be back again tomorrow for more interesting ones. My name is Nitrebi Hammond. Until tomorrow, when you think Ghana, think Z.